Hey, what's happening, everybody? I'm Larry Roberts, and this is another episode of the Readily Random Podcast.
Hey, you could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams.
Today I have a very interesting guest, a very unique approach to business acumen and being successful in business. She calls herself your Inner Dominatrix. And I believe her guide is the Dominatrix Guide to Success in Business. And mistress, with your permission, I'd like to go ahead and get this thing started. Dana Pharant, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you, Larry. And, a big shout out that you got my name right. So that's,
Yay.
that's a big win. Not everybody does that.
I couldn't go Pharant. You just kind of let it flow. See, I've learned that if you say it really fast, no matter what the name is, they'll generally accept it. So I say it real fast. It sounded right. So no, I'm kidding. But Dana, this is our second time talking. We had a little intro call last week that I thought went extremely well. It was a pleasure talking to you then, and I couldn't wait to talk to you again. So here we are.
We are.
So tell me more about this inner dominatrix and dominating in business, and let's figure all this out. This is kind of a unique take.
It is a very unique take. It's one of those that kind of makes people like stop and do a bit of a whiplash look at what I'm doing. But basically, the dominatrix is, I lay it out as an archetype. And as an archetype, it holds this space of, okay, what do we want to step into is high level confidence, because we need that in our business. There's this ability to be very present in the moment. And that is, very important in business. You want to be focused on what you're doing. She's very focused on her clients. It's actually client centered. And again, very helpful for a business. And the ability to negotiate what you want and get it. That, of course, is a great skill to have in business, because most people negotiate and give way too much away.
Oh, I agree 100%. And if you've listened to the last 53 episodes of my podcast, which I doubt you have, no pressure.
I have a few things to do, Larry.
I mean, I know you love my show. I know you do.
I do.
I know. But that's one of my biggest shortcomings is I give away the farm.
Yes.
And I give it away in hopes that I just get a little morsel or a little tidbit of business from you. Well, I'll do this for free in hopes of it coming back to me down the road. And although that's not a completely flawed approach, giving away some of your stuff is great.
Absolutely. But it has to be strategic, and there has to be a reason to be giving it away. If you're just giving it away for the sake of giving it away, or you're giving it away because you think, oh, I should, or, I don't feel comfortable asking for money for this, those are flawed approaches. So there needs to be that balance where, we feel really comfortable about who we are, the value that we bring. And then, when we're giving, we can just totally give from an open heart and not from this place of, well, I'm going to give you this and maybe one day you'll remember me, right? Like, ew. No, please stop doing that.
Yeah, that's nearly cost me a divorce. No, I mean, it hadn't gotten that bad. But my wife, she gets so mad every time I say, yeah, I met this person and I'm going to do this for them. But, they have this business and that business. And they do this and that. And I just know it's going to pay off in the end.
Right.
And
so
it has
Larry,
never paid off in the end.
I know we're doing a podcast interview, but I just have to just niggle in here. When you have somebody that you see there's a strategic alliance, there's nothing wrong with you saying, you know what, I would love to do this for you.
Sure.
And, I see that you would be able to do this, XYZ for me. Would you be willing to trade?
Right. And I that second part's where I come up short. It's just like,
right.
Well, I'm going to do this for you and remember your boy.
But people are human and they forget. And,
right.
Like if you're anything like me where you sleep and it's like the buffers all get cleared at night and I don't remember anything the next day. So
right. But, and I don't mean to detract from the conversation that we were headed down there. It's just, I just want to stress to folks that, like you said, giving things away just for the sake of giving them away isn't exactly the best approach sometimes. So
it's not.
Talk to me more about the negotiation process. And I mean, not to paint too vivid a picture, but with a dominatrix, I don't see a lot of negotiating. And now I'm pretty ignorant to the whole dominatrix thing there. But it seems to me that everything I mean, I saw all of what were those Christian Grey movies? I saw all
All the
3.
50 Shades.
I
Yeah.
read I read all 3 books. Now, I
Okay.
understand
It's
that
Hollywood. Come on. Does Hollywood ever portray any profession accurately?
it's so funny
Seriously.
because I heard it through the grapevine that, the dominatrix, genre really hated those movies and those books because it just portrayed everything so incorrectly. But I
It
just
did.
I couldn't let that just lie. I had to touch base
Hey,
on
it's
that.
good to address it because there's a lot of people that would look at that and base their opinions on what's going on. And that's where I get a lot of flack. But to circle back to the negotiations. So, first of all, I want to address the fact that although it looks like the Dom or Dominatrix has all of the power, that's actually incorrect. We pretend to have all the power, and the submissive pretends to hand over all their power. And this is a scene, it's so that we can actually facilitate the process and create change because in the scene what you're doing is you're trying to move them along so that they can get rid of all their stress from the day, get rid of the where they thought their limitations were, take them further, and then take them through a transformation. So it's much more like coaching than anything else.
Fair
Really.
enough. Fair enough.
I know. We just different implements, that's
Yeah,
all.
instead of a
So
basketball, it's maybe a whip. I don't know.
right,
Yeah, I'm
right.
with you.
Just slightly different. But prior to getting into the dungeon, prior to stepping into any kind of transfer of, power handed over, even if it's pretend, prior to that, there is intense negotiation that happens. So when I had clients, then I would sit down with them and I'd have them fill out 6 pages of information that they'd have to give me first. Yeah, that's a an assessment. You think a screening thing is bad for a coach? It's really intense.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm like, well, I need to know, do we line up? Because there's a lot of things that people can get into, and so is what you're looking for match up my skill set? And if we have enough of a match, then we can look at negotiating and saying, okay, what do you want out of this? What's your ideal outcome? What's okay, what's not okay. And so there's a lot of talk that's done kind of coffee table style. So 2 people come together as equals and negotiate. And this is a big part of where I love bringing from that world, bringing it in to say, like, I love that negotiation piece because it's not a wrongness on either party's sake. It's just, does it match? Does it line up? And we only go for what is a win-win. And for most people in business, I know it gets a little bit tricky because we start bringing in that money thing. But if we approached each of our engagements from this perspective of, does it work for both of us?
Mm-hmm.
And if not, sayonara. Like, you find somebody that does, because there is just no point in pursuing something that's not win for all parties. Sometimes it's more than 2.
Sure, definitely. And you would think that in my early 20s I sold cars, and you would think that I would bring that mentality with me as a business owner myself. But I think sometimes that, and I'm speaking at this from an entrepreneurial type perspective, not a corporate type perspective, because obviously those are 2 different styles of
For
negotiating.
sure.
But from an entrepreneurial perspective, it's almost like I let emotions get in the way.
That's it.
Instead of just doing business, I'm doing business from an emotional perspective.
Yes.
And what are some of the techniques that you use
Okay.
to overcome that?
So the longer term solution is to really dig in, and there's 3 parts to what I do. So first is we want to clear off the baggage and the crap that we have, which is our internal thoughts, our judgments, our preconceived ideas and beliefs, changing those so that we are into a choice state, whether we're doing something or not doing something. It's out of choice and not out of any kind of reaction that I have to or I can't or those kinds of things. Then the next level with that is that we need to have you really connected with your intuition and really trusting it and following it all the time. So there's training that goes on with getting that in place. And then the third level, which is really where I really invite people into that inner dominatrix energy, and that's where you are willing to lose everything and anything if it doesn't work for you. Like, it's just, there's just no attachment, because if we clear off this stuff where you make yourself wrong, then the willingness to drop in and lose if you need to, if that's what's required, gets a lot easier. But if I try to just take you to that place of saying, oh, okay, well, hey, just in your next negotiation meeting, just go in there and be willing to lose. There's a little bit of pre-work that we need to do. So there's a process that I take people through to clear all of their baggage and whatnot. But basically, I mean, there's a ton of tools out there and people can contact me if you want some resources that way. But I would say the biggest thing that you can start with is making some space for yourself. So energetically, this gets a bit woo-woo, but energetically, we have a physical body and we have an energetic body. And if we just imagine being able to take that energetic body and expand out in all directions, 360 degrees, and you just keep going out, like we're just going to like mega go out, size of the solar system. Hang on a second.
Oh,
here.
Yeah, I don't mean to interrupt. Sorry, go ahead.
Go all the way out. So just finish the thought here. So if we just go all the way out and you're just going to keep going out to like infinite space. If when you are that much space, it is a lot easier for you to have perspective on where you are and what's going on, as opposed to being all caught up in your head and in your monkey mind, which is where the emotions run rampant.
Gotcha.
So that would be a place I would say for people to start.
Gotcha. And it sounds easy to a certain degree, but application and execution are two totally different things, as we all know. And that's why I like having folks like you come on the show and give your perspective, because, different perspectives are going to work differently for other individuals. And somebody out there may go, hey, this sounds like something that would fit for me personally. And that's not what I was going to say. I was going to make a lame joke about how I'm already expanding 360 degrees, but not spiritually, or it was just going to be size-wise. But,
yeah, we're not talking about the physical body.
Yeah,
it is the energetic body.
Gotcha, yeah.
Yeah.
So if I can get that to catch up with my physical body, I'll be set. So, sorry, I had to fit it in there somehow, even though I had to just reaffirm what you said. I'm getting that joke in there, doggone it. So So what are some of the other things that we could pick up from the Inner Dominatrix, aside from negotiations and understanding more about ourselves? What are some other techniques or some tools that we could use in our day-to-day business activities that we could learn at the crack of a whip?
Simple things, I would say, one of the things is to lean into the fact that other people do not think about you as much as you are worried about them thinking about you. You can go on thinking, well, what are these people going to think about me? And I would say just to let that go and to realize, wait a minute, I don't think any of these people really give a rat's patootie about me. So why am I worrying about them? Why am I giving them space in my head? And, chuck it out. Like those kinds of thoughts processes are useless. And that's going to go a long ways to getting you to start to step into that bulletproof confidence, which is what I talk about for the Inner Dominatrix. It is where you are Teflon.
Wow.
People can think whatever they want. They can say whatever they want. And you just carry on because it doesn't matter what they think. It's just stuff in their head anyway.
Man, I dig that bulletproof confidence. That's pretty awesome. I was talking to a kid at the office today. I say he's a kid. He's 23. So yeah, he's a kid. And, I was talking to him about confidence. He's 23, he's taking on the world, he's doing really good, he's staying focused, his friends are partying and drinking and all this kind of, and he's just focused. And, I said, man, just stay the course and have confidence in the fact that in the end, you're going to appreciate it a lot more, because we got another kid at work, he's like 31. He's about to have a kid, he's been married for a couple of years, he's got his master's degree, she's got her master's degree, she's a principal already, he's a cat daddy data analyst. I mean, these kids, they have it together. And we go, wow, if we could only be like so-and-so over there, our lives would be great. And I said, just emulate this cat over here, right? Just have the confidence that you could do it too. But having that Teflon confidence is kind of, it can be fleeting. Have you noticed that it can be fleeting? Like you can capture that confidence and then something
But
happens.
that's where the deeper work comes in. So when you start actually digging in and rooting out some of these core beliefs, which it doesn't have to be, painful and whatnot. I've spent 25 years figuring out what tools work easily and effectively. So it doesn't have to be painful, but doing that inner work makes it so that it's easier for you to step into bulletproof confidence on a regular basis, and so that it's not fleeting.
Gotcha. And that's that right there is almost, in my personal opinion, if not as critical as getting the confidence in the first place. 'Cause I was telling my little guy today that at one time in my early 20s, early to mid 20s, I had that bulletproof confidence. I was
Mm-hmm.
6'3" and I was 155 pounds. I was a tall, skinny little stick figure of a man, but no one could touch me, right? Nothing could get in
Yeah.
my way. I could
Yeah.
take on the world. And then long about, I don't know, my early 30s, I noticed that confidence starting to kind of fall off. And eventually it just rock bottomed. It just bottomed out. And I was like, I can't do anything. I suck. I'm horrible. This is terrible. I don't even like my life anymore. It's terrible. But getting that confidence was a challenge, but keeping it proved to be a bigger challenge. And now I'm definitely much more confident than I was in my early 30s, but I still don't feel like I'm bulletproof like I was in my mid 20s. And I don't know if there might have been some extra testosterone in my mid 20s that was contributing to that fact that is missing in my mid 40s. So I don't know.
And it brings up a good point. I think, for clarification for your listeners, is that in your early 20s, it's actually a stage of life that, men go through, feeling invincible. This is part of, that's why I am surprised that men actually make it past 25, because so many of them just, it's like, you see them doing things, you're like,
Yeah.
really? But that's a part of stage. I wouldn't say that that's necessarily what I would call bulletproof confidence now. Bulletproof confidence is kind of a quieter, more secure within yourself. It's not a, pounding your chest kind of confidence. It's just, you can think whatever you want. I'm all good. See ya.
Right.
Confident within your own body, I would say, is the bulletproof confidence.
Yeah. And getting that within yourself and within your own body relies so much on accepting your physical self more so than your emotional or your energetic self that you were speaking of earlier.
Mm-hmm.
What's something we can do? I don't know, one or two tips that you could give us on taking the physical confidence and then transitioning that into the energetic confidence that leads to an overall bulletproof type of confidence.
So, circling back to that, expanding the energy field out, I'm just going to say that part of the benefit of that is that when you expand out, you are less impacted by other people's thoughts, emotions, their crap that's going on. And what often happens for people is interesting, because I wanted to come back to this piece you said about as you got older, you were feeling less and less confident. And for a lot of people, as they get older, they start getting kind of like put upon by other people. They start taking on other people's judgments and their ideas, and they internalize them. And that weight of everybody else's stuff, their crap, gets very heavy. It starts weighing you down, and then you don't have the resources to channel that into feeling good. So one of the things is unplugging from everybody else. And I would say for people listening, to start with the fact of saying, you know what, if it doesn't feel all that light and fun, why don't we start with assuming that that emotion is not actually yours and unplug from it? I mean, maybe it is. I have people that are like, oh, it's mine. It's in my body. I'm like, well, what would happen if you decided that it wasn't? What if you decided to let it go? If it's really yours, it'll hang around. But if it's not, it'll go. And then you feel lighter.
That is something fun to play with. And turning these things on and turning them off should be as easy as a flip of a switch, right?
It can be. It's just a little bit of retraining for yourself. So, for as far as retraining, we're talking about the phones buzzing. It's interesting because one of the things I say is to set up an alarm on your phone that goes off every half hour with some unique ring.
Uh-huh.
And on that, when it goes off, you expand out and just kind of unplug from what you've been picking up from people.
So when you say expand out, is that like meditation type stuff? I mean,
no,
you're just finding your inner self, or what do you mean by that expanding?
It's simpler than that. So your energy will follow your intention. And so if you just take a deep breath and you just allow your energy to expand out. And so what I do is I guide people through. I'll start them and say, okay, expand out as big as the room, and then go as big as your state. and then we go as big as like the whole country, and we just keep going as big as the world, and you just allow it. Just notice it. It's like, what would it feel like if my energy was as expanded out as big as the world? And right, just keep playing with it and keep going out. It's most people make it hard, and they're
Right.
like, I'm not sure if I'm doing this right. And I'm like, yeah, just let it happen. It's really, really easy. Energy work is super, super easy. Most people overcomplicate it because they want to create some signature system to sell you something.
Okay. That makes sense. And that's
Yeah.
why I'm trying to get this information from you. I'm taking notes because I'm recording this. I'm gonna work with your energy for $3.99. No, but I think of it along the lines of maybe some like TM or something like that, and for the uninitiated, like transcendental meditation and that sort of
It's
thing.
Yeah, for most people, they're not disciplined enough. I mean, meditation
Sure.
is great. Even just, noticing your breathing is a good, simple meditation. Um, I like things that are a lot more simple. Transcendental meditation, most people need about 10 years before they really get to drop in to this space that, if you just allow it, it'll actually happen
Right, just
without
dynamically.
effort.
Sure. And
Yeah.
I didn't mean to take this conversation this far into the expanding your energy. I'm just fascinated by it, honestly. And I mean, back in the day, I might have read a TM book or two, trying to find my inner something or other,
Hmm.
But I think you're right in that it can be presented in such a complex manner that you tend to give up on it.
Yeah.
And to tie it back to the business world, your business can also be as complex as you want it or as simple as you want it to be.
Yes.
And once it gets overly complex, you're going to want to drop it. And, that's one of the reasons podcasts fail so quickly. And that's one of the reasons that businesses fail so quickly. And I'll be honest, right now, I'm struggling because, I hear like Gary V out there and he's going, you need to do 24 pieces of content on Facebook and 22 pieces of content on Twitter and 8 or 9 pieces on Instagram a day in order to get your message. And I'm just like, dude, come on, man. There ain't
Yeah.
it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen. So if you let that type of message get to you and eat at you, you talk about a confidence crusher.
It is. And it goes against what's actually going to work for you. So this is part of where when I said my 3 stages, intuition comes into play. Getting in touch with your intuition and being able to test out what works for you is a key, because maybe the Gary V hustle is going to work for you, but maybe it's not. Maybe you need to be doing something that's like a deeper storytelling type of marketing to actually connect with your people. Maybe webinars is your thing. Maybe webinars is not your thing. Maybe you need Facebook. Maybe you need Twitter. Maybe you need neither. You checking in with what's going to work for you, because you're the expert in your life, not Gary V or any other big name. What do they know? They know what works for them.
That is such a powerful line. You're the expert of what works in your life, not them.
Right.
That's phenomenal, and I think we've just found the name of the episode. But
Sweet.
it's such a strong line, and people tend to look so far beyond just themselves for answers that they really know the answer to. They've really got that
Yes.
answer.
Yeah.
They're just looking
Well,
for an
and
affirmation.
that brings in a whole nother topic. Sorry, I love talking, but like the whole other piece of, we want gurus and experts to tell us what to do, because then when it goes wrong, we can blame somebody else.
Oh, most definitely. I don't want to blame
Yeah.
myself.
Right.
I don't want personal responsibility. This is the
No,
millennial
no.
age right here. We don't have personal responsibility.
No,
And
no.
hopefully I don't have any millennials listening. Well, I mean, I'd love for you to listen, but I just insulted every one of you, so I'm sorry. But and yes, I'm leaving that in. That will not get edited out. So
Okay.
So Dana, like I say, the conversation went so quick. But I'd like to know more about what you do, how we can find what you do, how we can find more information about you. And do you have speaking engagements coming up? Do you have books? What do you have that can feed the folks that are listening to this and go, man, I want to learn more about the Reddit pain room is what I want to know about. So
It's not the red room.
No, it's the Red Room of Pain, man. I saw the movies. I saw it.
No,
We
it's
were
not
all
what we do
there.
anymore. Okay, so if you want to know the real story, you can check out the website, which is innerdominatrix.com. And I have the fortunate notoriety of being the only Dana Pharant in the world. So you can find me on any of the social media platforms. I'm typically more in Facebook at the moment. I have a Facebook group you can join. There is also an app called Inner Power. That is my app. So you can get all my podcasts and all the content, all the good stuff. So yeah, if you want a deeper explanation of the Expand Out, that's a great place to get that as well.
That's awesome. So now I'm editing that, but it looks like you do. It looks like you do some speaking as well. Do you have any speaking engagements that you?
Oh yes!
participate
Oh my
in?
goodness! Yeah.
Yeah.
So Toronto in November. End of November is the Toronto Change event, which is going to be pretty epic in Toronto. And then Charlotte, North Carolina, at the beginning of November, I'm going to be speaking at Entrepreneur City. And then I'm gapping on the name of the venue. It's World Peace Day or something in the end of September in Toronto as well.
It's just World Peace Day. It doesn't matter.
Some little thing. Anyway.
So,
yeah.
Dana, before we go, can you tell me what would be one key factor that you'd like for us to take away after getting to know the Inner Dominatrix?
I think the thing that I would really like to press in for you as a listener is that there's never, ever been anything wrong with you. And I would love for you to just, in this moment, make the commitment to let go of that belief that there's ever been anything wrong with you.
Very cool. Very cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can't top that. So that's a great message. There's nothing wrong with you. I'm gonna meditate on that myself, honestly. Because
please do.
No, and I mean, I'm not even kidding there. You go, well, he's joking again. No, I'm very serious. That is a great message, and it's a great note to end the podcast on. So Dana Pharant, and that's a PH, by the way, not with a F, folks. So if you find her on Facebook, it's PHARANT.
Yeah.
What's the next letter? That one with the hook at the top. I don't even know. Anyways. All right, Dana, hang on for just a minute. We'll talk a little bit more as I round this up. Hey, guys, thank you so very much for listening. I really appreciate it. Hey, once again, if you're looking to start a podcast and you want to do it the easy way, don't watch all those silly videos that are on YouTube that make it overly complex. You can check out my book, 1 + 1 = Podcast, where I simplify the equation of podcasting success. And once again, I appreciate it. Thanks. Bye.
You could be lying.